Hello, everybody. So we're just going to let the lucky bones join us back in this live. The beautiful artists Isaac and Soren, and unfortunately, I heard the horrible.
Yeah.
Hello. So I just learned a very, very, very valuable lesson, and you're going to absolutely hate me for it. But I just lost our entire live because I responded to your message. It didn't share. I
Oh
just learned an incredibly valuable, horrible, horrible lesson, and I'm
no!
hoping it's saved in my draft. I'm hoping it's saved in my draft.
I hope so.
So as soon
If
as
not,
this
we
is
can just
done,
do another night.
absolutely, absolutely, we can definitely come back and do this again. But I just learned the most valuable, horrible, horrible lesson,
Oh no! Oh no!
and
I'm
I'm
so
hoping it's saved in my drafts so that I can reshare it.
sorry. Well, today we learned something. It's okay.
We both learned a very valuable lesson for both of our businesses. When we
Uh,
finish a live, do not respond to any messages until we post.
got it. Well,
But yes,
anyway,
so going back to the question that we asked at the very end, you were saying that your health was a big reason to why you had to stop, why you had to stay home.
right. So we were talking about why we got on the road in the first place, and then why we had to stop. And it started because we couldn't find housing because of our dog. Plain and simple. Like either you have to pay like 300 extra dollars a month to have the dog, or you just aren't allowed at all. And we're very poor. Like we're not rich people. Like we have basic jobs, and so
I
now
get that because if I didn't receive my inheritance and I wasn't able to live on the family farm, I would be very much like you guys. I'd be living in the back of my wagon, probably on the side of a river somewhere, traveling from place to place to place because I can't afford to live anywhere else. And I keep getting told by people, and you probably received this as well, and it can be terribly insulting. Move to the city, move back home, you'll be fine. You can't do that when you haven't got money, when you don't get benefits, you don't get government support. That becomes impossible. And then you also end up, correct me, you probably face this challenge as well, having to pay for fuel, having to pay for registration. And when you haven't got money and you don't have the space as artists, and knowing me, I need a lot of space to spread out. You guys most likely do as well. It becomes near impossible to work.
yeah, somehow we managed to within the RV, and we ended up on the road finding all of these bones and things. We ended up being very cramped. We'd have our knees up, like this, and just squatting everywhere, and surrounded by what few belongings we have. But it was keeping us sane. The art was giving us a purpose and keeping us sane and helping us sort of consolidate what was going on around us,
Mm-hmm.
and into something that we could actually eat off of. If you think about it, we started to sell them, and it was our food. That was our
hmm
fuel. That was
It's our dog's food.
all that we had.
It was,
It was
it was everything.
it was lucky, truly. So backing
So
up
you
again,
probably ended up with
I
something very much like this. So when you're on the road, you would have had what I call my travel bag. It's full of crystals. This is actually really heavy, as you
yeah,
can tell by the way that I'm grunting lifting it.
yeah. The things we carried with us were funny. We had our dog, and then a bunch of bones and rocks. Like only the essentials. You know what I'm saying?
Only the essentials, bones and rocks.
And so yeah, we got on the road because of the dogs, and we ended being on the road because of my health. Because I don't have a diagnosis yet. It's because I've got a group of symptoms that's known as dysautonomia, and it's
Yeah.
basically like a malfunction of your autonomic nervous system, and it causes a wide range of symptoms that could look like a lot of other things. So it mainly manifests in me as blood pressure issues and
Mm-hmm.
intolerance to heat and cold, which if you in New England especially, it's incredibly either boiling hot or freezing cold. And basically I have to stay in like a nice temperate little box in the shade. Like I have to have a sun umbrella when I go out, or I overheat. I get like heat stroke.
So
Um,
living on the road is essentially then going to become impossible for you unless you move to a temperate region.
a very temperate region, and we weren't finding homes in those places. And they're hard to find in the United States anyway. You have like California is probably the most you know perfect as far as temperature goes, 70 degrees Fahrenheit, like all year round there, which is perfect.
That would be
No one can
It's
afford
like
to live there.
Oakland, California.
Yeah, we were
yeah,
near
so
San
that's like I'm sorry, I'm just trying to figure out the conversion to Celsius. So sorry, I don't use Fahrenheit. I think that's about
Francisco.
28 to 26, isn't it?
It's like I know that 30 is like really hot in Celsius, right? It would
So
be
I
about,
know, yeah. So no, I experience on average 44 in
oh, that's
summer.
okay. Yeah, maybe you're right
Um,
then.
so I think, correct me if I'm wrong, 100 Fahrenheit is 36, right, on average?
Oh God, I feel like I should know this. I feel ashamed. I don't know.
So
I'd
yeah,
have to look
I
it
think
up.
100 is 36. So if you're, I think it would probably be about 28 to 30 degrees, which would be a very comfortable temperature for you because 36 is the core human body temperature.
Okay. Yeah, so basically a nice spring day. That's what I can handle. I'm basically a little sensitive. Like I've got a lot of digestive issues because of it. Like I can't eat a whole lot of different ranges of food, especially not the junk food that you eat while you're on the road and while you're very poor. You know,
Yeah.
you,
So come to think of it then, so if you've got these autoimmune disease problems like that, would that
yeah,
play a huge impact on your hormone levels as well? And I don't want to sound judgmental when I say this. I'm going to say this purely from a medical viewpoint. Because of the hormone levels and the hormone regulations, the issues that you most likely face having this, is that
yeah,
a lot to do with your non-binary acceptance of yourself as well, knowing that you don't have these hormone balances, hormone levels in your mind, which gives you that? I'm asking purely as medical, and I don't want to sound judgmental when I say this.
I don't actually know how it relates to. I do take testosterone, and so I don't find that ever since I've been on the testosterone, which is about 3 years, the first 2 years I felt wonderful. And it's only been in like the last year or so that I've noticed these other health issues really
Mhm.
creeping in and getting worse and worse. So I don't know how much the hormones affect the disorder and vice versa. I'm not quite sure how to answer it, honestly.
Because yeah, I was more asking more of a psychological viewpoint because of testosterone levels. Would that affect how you feel masculine some days and then very feminine on another day, which then would play into your psychological non-binary assessment of yourself?
I'm sure that it does. Yeah. I mean, it affects being on hormones. It affects every little thing that you don't think of, even like, um, and it becomes sort of a mental um, challenge to sort of like the way that I was raised for and the way that I experienced life for 30 years was, as a completely different gender than what I'm presenting as
Mhm.
today. So it becomes very much a mental battle, even though
And
maybe
then
you're
in America,
gender.
you wouldn't have access to much mental health assessments and stuff like that because I know here in South Australia and Australia in general, we have very, very extensive programs when it comes towards sexual health and sexual health education and a lot of that sort of stuff. I've obviously been in it for about a decade now. I haven't worked for the last 4 or 5 years in sexual health, but we have access to a lot of that information and we're constantly actively researching it. But in America, you don't really have those sort of services or resources to reach out to, do you? And if
We
you
do.
do, they probably cost an absolute fortune because here in Australia, they're free. They are free.
It
You
depends.
want to get sexual health, you want to get condoms, you want to get tested, you want to get like a termination of the baby, free.
Yeah, that's a very hot button topic here right now, isn't it? We're still fortunate enough to have Planned Parenthood in every
And is
state.
Planned Parenthood essentially like what I've just explained that we have
Yeah,
here in Australia?
they're the ones with the heart and soul. Yeah, we need them. We need more of our facilities and organizations and hospitals and insurance companies, and we need them all to reflect the values that Planned Parenthood has, but for some reason we're stuck back in time and want to stay there, and in fact go back even farther. So I don't
It's terribly upsetting because as a sexual health professional, seeing what's happening over there at the moment, seeing how you guys get treated for being non-binary, the fact that you, and correct me if I'm wrong, even Planned Parenthood, they've got the same ideals as what we have here with SAMASH and Shine SA, but you've got to pay for it all, don't you?
You do, and it very much depends on the state that you're in and the insurance provider that you have. If
And would
you
that mean, do they also offer psychological help, trans help, sex, gender role help, and all of that sort of stuff? Is that part of Planned Parenthood, or do you have to go somewhere else for that?
Planned Parenthood does all of that. They're very much they're angels for the trans community in a lot of different ways. If I
So
were to go
they're
there,
your essential American sexual health experts.
they're what we should be striving. Yeah, all of them. Like they won't judge. No Planned Parenthood in America would judge me for going in and saying that I needed an abortion. They wouldn't. They wouldn't. They
The
wouldn't.
people outside would try
They
and say
wouldn't
something
question
about
the
it,
people
but
outside with the sign.
Actually, yeah, speaking of that, correct me if I'm wrong, Diesel, you're either going to get up or you're going to keep playing with the tennis ball or I'm going to confiscate it. Sorry, my dog is being very pushy right now. But a lot of the protests that are happening outside those facilities are actually really dangerous for you guys to even get through, to even be able to get to the front door, isn't it?
Yeah.
oh, they'll attack you.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
they'll attack
Like,
you.
seriously, actually physically attack you.
Sometimes
Yes.
Oh
it
my
can.
God, that's disgusting.
It's a lot. It's a lot. At the very least, you're going to be psychologically abused on your way in, at least a little bit. You know.
You're going to be made to feel like absolute garbage for needing to do this procedure for yourself.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's another
Even
topic
if you're
Yeah,
in a
ever and ever.
yeah, even
Yeah,
if
I
you're
feel like we should. I feel like we should totally make another live just in regards to all of this sort of stuff and
And
fix my error that I did, and I feel so bad.
I mean, that's okay. We're gonna think about wrapping up about now, anyways. Before we get on a million other tangents, we're gonna go eat dinner.
Absolutely, because we have so much that we can talk about, and we definitely have to book in for another one of these couch talks. I think where I'm going to actually save it properly this time, and no responding to messages until I finish typing everything up.
Oh yeah, isn't that the way? You've got to mess it up at least once or twice.
Exactly. You've got to mess it up a couple of times, and obviously, you guys being my third couch talks, it's all still very new to me as well. But yeah, with that, I'm going to let you both go. You two beautiful souls, get yourself some sleep, give the dogs some cuddles for me, and I will speak to you both soon. It was an absolute honor to share space with you, and have a lovely night.
So much fun. Have a great day.
Right.
you too.
Ciao for
Bye.
now.